Have you ever had a hard time dealing with the past? Or maybe you feel like you've got a lot of baggage and you really are tired of carrying it. It's one of those things, we all have baggage, but how do we manage it when we can't wipe the slate clean? Maybe we can't get rid of it for whatever reason. How do we begin to go through our life where we are managing the baggage of our past currently, especially if we can't remove it all? So for today, I've got a couple of things for us to reflect upon with that. One comes out of Psalm 67, and this kind of gives us the beginning of this conversation of, okay, how do we manage our baggage better right here, right now, in the present? And 67 verses 1 through 2 say, let God grant us grace and bless us. Let God make his face shine on us so that your way becomes known on earth, so that your salvation becomes known among all the nations. Let God grant us grace and bless us. Now that word grace, that's really important. Grace means favor, and the favor carries with it forgiveness, mercy, love, an understanding, and a deep desire for us to live in peace and in joy. And what's interesting about it is God's grace, we don't do anything to earn it. We can't lose it. God loves us no matter what. Now, do we always recognize the grace? Maybe not. Do we always live into it let it permeate our being so that we can live it out? Sometimes it can be a struggle for us to acknowledge the grace in our own lives so that we can then turn and give it to others. But Genesis 50 kind of gives us a sense of, okay, what does it mean for us to live out that grace? How does grace begin to manage our baggage from the past? And it says in Genesis 50, 19 through 21, but Joseph said to them, don't be afraid. Am I God? You planned something bad for me, but God produced something good from it in order to save the lives of many people, just as he's doing today. Now, don't be afraid. I will take care of you and your children. So he put them at ease and spoke reassuringly to them. Joseph is speaking to his brothers. And what's important about this story, I recommend reading the whole thing. Joseph's brothers did not like Joseph because Joseph was their father Jacob's favorite. In fact, Joseph loved it. He loved being the favorite, as any child does. And he would brag about it. He would throw it in his older brothers' faces. The older brothers get so angry with him that they take him, they sell him into slavery. They get rid of him. They had even contemplated killing him. His brothers did him wrong. Joseph, at this point, Joseph is now second in command in Egypt. He has the power. He only answers to Pharaoh. He has all the power. And his brothers happen to be in Egypt because there's a famine and they need food. And so Joseph invites them in. They don't know who he is. Joseph finally reveals who he is, and they freak out because they know what they have done to him. Joseph has all kinds of baggage with him. But here's the thing about Joseph. Joseph is allowing grace, God's grace, to permeate every aspect of his life in how his response. So Joseph here, he's living out that grace by what he's able to let go of, anger and betrayal. He's able to let grace challenge him in perspective of, wait a minute, I need new perspective on what happened in the past. It also changes the way he responds in the very moment. And Joseph is able to extend forgiveness to his brothers. He is able to open up that space of possibility, okay, have you guys really changed? Joseph has that power to do that. And so for ourselves, when we're thinking about how we manage the baggage of our past, how we manage those things from our past that we don't like and that pop up at the most inconvenient times, how do we allow grace to begin to challenge, not just comfort, but also challenge our response to it, of how we understand that baggage, of how we understand of what we're able, what we need to let go of, what is going to go along with us, but what new perspective do we need, what understanding, and how do we need to let forgiveness and mercy be a part of this whole conversation, whether it's for ourselves or for others. because sometimes it's much harder to forgive ourselves than it is others. And so how do we allow grace to become God's grace, to become what manages our past, what manages our baggage? Because our past is in the past. We can't change anything about it. All we can do is change our response in the present. And so how will you allow that grace to help you this day, to help guide you in new ways, to help you let go of some things, but also to bring about new perspectives in your responses and that the way that you engage with those things of your past? Have a good one.